Welcome to the Ask for the Skinny podcast with a guest. I'm proud to present Nick Shelton. Nick, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here.
Nick, please tell us more about yourself. What is your story?
All right. Well, I recently retired from the oil and gas industry after, I'd say, a total of 25 years in oil and gas. But I was in the military, the Air Force before that, and it's not been without its challenges in navigating the social aspects, the identity aspects, and then but it's been a long, wonderful journey. But I guess we're here to talk about when that journey kind of catches you off guard and leads into the midlife crises. And I could say that I've probably had two midlife crises. So I don't know if one was a quarter life crisis and the other one is midlife, but yes, and we can get into that.
Yes, I really like background, especially Air Force, because that means that you don't have a problem with discipline. And usually motivation is not a problem. And I also like how you went into into next industry, oil and gas, because I know how oil and gas is. It's a dog eat dog industry and
yes,
extremely demanding. So you have, I'm sure you have a lot of experience, and you went from there. You basically pull yourself out of it, and I would like to hear more about your identity crisis, as you hinted at it as a part of midlife crisis, because you changed from being in the Air Force, then into oil and gas, and then you retire. And how does that affect your identity?
Oh, well, it's huge because what often happens is we wrap up our identity in like our achievements, what we do and how well we do it. And then in our social circle also usually will revolve around our careers. And then, so when I left that, so I retired at 49 and I'm 51 years old now. And when I left that, at first there was kind of like a vacation mode where you just go out and you travel. And then after a while, the vacation stops, but you're still, you don't go back to work. And so, but everyone they're still working. So I went into kind of a depression and, I was floating because my identity. So when I was in the military, I knew exactly what my job was, what my place was, everything, that structure was there. And then in oil and gas, I knew once again, here's where I am. And so I felt like I was in oil and gas, I felt like I was kind of a big deal, and then when I wasn't in there, then it's suddenly like I have a lot of currency that is no longer accepted in this new phase of life. So now I'm just some guy, just a regular guy walking around the store. There's no, so it's this big like crisis. I'd say my first, so there was two, there's a first crisis where it was more like the typical midlife crisis, and then there's this identity crisis. Which one would you like me to discuss?
Let's discuss both. Let's start with the first one that is typical. So what happened when we're no longer young, where we see people dying around us, when we see, oh, is that all from our life, or is that anything beyond what we're doing now? I would like to hear about the first one first.
Right. So the first one, I was saving. I was doing really well, saving all my money. I was doing all the things you're supposed to do. And I would say, let's see, how old was I? Think the first one happened when I was mid 30s. I was in my mid 30s, and then a coworker of mine died from cancer, passed away. And I was thinking, oh man, and he wasn't very much older than me. And so I said, okay, I've been living this way all this time, and he is gone now. And I said, oh, I don't know how much time I have left. I need to really do some stuff. So then instead of buying a sensible, normal car that a responsible person would get, I said, I need to get my dream car because I don't know how much time I have. I need to go.
What was your dream car?
Well, so it was this, and it's gonna sound, it's different than most people's dream car, but it was a Volvo uh, S60 Polestar,
Okay.
and and so it was just this. When I was a kid, I saw one of these Volvos, and I said, if I know that I've made it if I ever get one of those. And some people say Ferraris and Lamborghinis, but that's what for me, that was personal for me, what
Okay.
I wanted.
Yes.
So I went and I got one. And then I just started going on vacations. I was spending a lot of money. So I went from being very responsible to I got two motorcycles. I just started traveling and doing all kinds of stuff because I said, I don't know how much time I have. So I need to experience as much as possible because any day it could be all over. And then I somehow lived much longer than that. so but I don't regret it. I had those experiences, but when I see people all of a sudden make that shift, I go, "Oh, okay, I see what's happening. They're realizing their mortality and they're actually trying to get some living in." And that was the first one. It wasn't necessarily an identity crisis for the first one. It was more of I don't think I've been living my full life. I need to try to make up for lost time, was the first one.
Okay, great. And you solve it with a reasonable car. It's not
Yes, no Corvette or
so
Lamborghini.
Volvo speaks volumes. That means that you're a person that can be trusted and all at all accounts. So
I thought it was elegance without arrogance, is what I would say.
yeah, yeah,
Elegance without arrogance. Yes.
great choice.
Thank you.
So tell us more about your identity crisis. How this appear and why were you not ready for this? What was so? What does the world or the environment? What's wrong with our environment that we are not prepared to shift our identity? Where do you think we got it wrong?
Well, so I look at it like there's stages. So um, if you look at it, for example, like there's a warrior out on the plains, and then there's like a village elder in the tent. And everybody trains you, your whole life trains you to be the warrior out on the plains, but not to make that transition to, okay, now we need you here. Now, so it goes from the achievement based to the relationship based, and like what you mean to your family, your community, your legacy, and having that wisdom and sharing it. So I think a lot of times we get stuck in that achievement based thing. So then that's what happened with me is everything, my whole identity was structured around achievement. And then, I felt like, okay, well, in terms of society, I felt like I won. So it's kind of like if you go to the Olympics and then you're like, yes. And then you
What's
come home
yeah?
and they say, "Oh no, you're not going back to the Olympics now. You're done." And then you say, "Okay, well, I've been training my whole life for that one thing. What do I do now?" And so now it's going to be the village elder in the tent. Go to the tent, and you'll say, "I can still be out there on the plains." Yes, we know you can still do it, but you're more valuable over here. But no one tells you, no one trains you for that. And so that's where the disconnect is.
Why do you think that they don't train us to take? I call it to take the back seat. What is? Why do we always have to be in the driver's seat? Why we are not trained? Okay, you're gonna achieve your peak, and then slowly you will not longer be like a manager or project manager. You will have to be a consultant or a coach. Why are we not trained? Why are these um, functions or yeah like if we call it functions in a company or in a society, why are this role not appreciated?
Well,
Why is power and roles where you have certain power and influence are more appreciated than the roles where wisdom is needed. Why do you think is that?
Right.
And why do we appreciate, or our society appreciates power more than wisdom?
I think it's because it's glamorized. We glamorize and there's all the spotlight is on the achiever that's out there, and we don't want to lose that spotlight. We see it and we put it up here on the pedestal, even though. And what popped into my mind is for I don't know how well versed your audience is in Star Wars, but then you got like Yoda over here, and then you got Luke Skywalker, and you know we know that Yoda is very valuable, but no one's really following him, that he's not the glamorous person. Luke Skywalker is the one that, oh, this guy is out there doing the thing. So I think that we all see ourselves, we're all told, oh, you got to go out there because no one starts off in that wise wisdom position. And so you got to start off in the action position. But once you're in that action achieving position, no one usually wants to give it up. You're in there and everyone sees that it's highly visible, and no one wants to be retired or put out to pasture, and say, okay, now you're over here, because then they'll usually fight it. Like even within me, there's a lot of parts of me that say, "Oh, I still can do it." Yes, and we all know that you can do it, but it's not necessarily where the my value is now. But if I need to, I can still do that achievement thing. But I think society just really rewards, and especially with social media, and even before that, saying this, they shine the light on the achiever versus saying, let's go over here to the
The support, the
the
back office.
consultants.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, to the back office and talk to these guys. Nope, that's not where the glory is. There is a lot of glory there, but it's not shown. It's not something that people, when they're kids and you say, what do you want to be when you grow up? And they say, I want to be in the back office of the sports team. They want to be the star.
Mhm.
And so I think it's just, we're all conditioned to believe that that's where we need to be and where we always need to be, and no one wants to give it up.
Okay. Can we attribute that to unresolved uh, midlife crisis? Can we contribute that the society as a whole has a huge problem that does not understand that there's a cycle? It's not a one-way road. So if we're happy and healthy and we are able to live to an old age, we should understand that we should retire from function much earlier in order to not to get burnout, not to get obsolete. Because our knowledge, when we are young, we can acquire or accumulate knowledge fast, and we can also test it on the field. But then, when we get older, we have much more wisdom. Uh, we're we are much more careful what we do. We don't
Yes.
assume that much risks anymore because we don't need to. We have nothing to prove anymore because we've already been successful. And
Yes.
uh, why do you think our society, where are the elders that would tell us, okay, when you come to 50, things will go down. You have to, start working less, think more about your family, think more about your community. Why is that not popular? And even in the US, we have someone like Donald Trump. He's on a peak or the highest position as we imagine it. When he's 80s, in his 80s. So
Yes.
where's the catch? Why are 80 years old guys not in a back office or a consulting?
I think it's one of those things where, because when people told me that, okay, you can start slowing down now and you can start doing this and thinking about these other things, I think my ego says, not me, not for me. That could be you and those other people.
Yeah, I
But
have exactly
I,
the same problem.
yes. So it's just ego thinking that, oh, these people are maybe they're weaker or they gave up, but I am stronger and I'm not going to give up and I will continue this path. But then maybe nature or something comes in and it says, no, you're going to take a seat over here. And then there's a point that may or may not come, a day that will humble you and then make you shift that perspective and make you see, oh, I need to look at this differently. And that's what happened to me from when I retired and I hit that wall and that depression. And I was thinking, well, who am I now? What's next? And that realization made me shift. And that's what made it so, because I felt like I was fading away.
Mhm.
I felt like I was becoming invisible. And the crazy part is nobody noticed. And so I don't know how many of your listeners can relate to this, but like in my family, so everybody, my family and my friends are like, yes, you did it. You retired and all this. And I felt, completely empty and depressed, but nobody noticed that I was like that. Everybody thought that I was great. But it was hard for me to admit that I had a problem because everybody saw me as like this victor, as this winner. And so I can't say, no, there's a issue here. There's something going on with me. It's hard to admit that because nobody saw it, so I, things had to change.
So I really like how you put it, your internal battle. So nobody saw it because you had all material things and everything. And then people think, oh, if I had a house like he has, or if I had a car like he has, then I would be well off. And nobody
Yes.
understands that their internal struggle. And that
Yes.
midlife crisis is more about internal than outside struggles. So
Yes.
um, how did you overcome your problems with depression, with ego? Did you do it alone, or did you have a mentor or a coach, a therapist that would help you with that?
Okay. Well, I ended up doing it alone because I tried hypnotherapy, I tried regular therapy, I tried affirmations, I tried like some subliminal stuff that I found on YouTube, and none of that really helped. And so I said, well, what what can I do? Because I know that I'm a systems guy. I develop systems to to deal with things and the processes. And so I said, oh, I just need to build a system around this. And so the first thing that I did was an audit. So I did a personal audit to see where am I at? What am I working with? What for this new chapter of my life, what stays and carries forward, and what do I need to let go because it's not going to be useful anymore? But I can't make that change or make any progress unless I know where I'm starting from. So I needed to do that personal audit. And then after that, I was thinking about so then honoring the previous me and releasing it. So actually what that looks like for me is I wrote a letter to myself thanking myself for you did great in your career. We learned a lot. I forgive you for the mistakes. And now we're moving on to another chapter. So I'm going to let you go. And, so I wrote out a letter to myself. And then I did it's called a bowl burning ceremony. So I burned that letter to release it. And then I figured, okay, so now this is my new life. So instead of saying, oh, my life actually has to physically end, I can just say, I'm going to start a new life now. That first life was given to me. Now, this life I will choose. So I looked at it like if I was writing a script for a movie and I have to develop a character, okay, so I'm creating this new me. From that audit, I'm bringing over the stuff that I liked, and then I'm going to plug in like what I want this version of me to be. And so I can say, what do I want this new Nick? What's his morning routine? Is he a morning person or a night person? What does he eat? What kind of music does he listen to? Because it doesn't have to be what it was before. I can I can choose. I can decide I want it to be different. And so I put all that together in this new version of myself. And then I can continue if you want, or if you wanted to add anything,
No,
I can
I'm really
pause.
interested in you have developed your system. How can our
Yeah.
listeners um, get to your system? How can they copy you? Can they buy a book of you? Can they get to a webinar with you? What's your style? How do you transfer your knowledge? How it is done? How can we copy your success story? That is
Oh, yeah. So I have a website, resettheman.com, and women can go to it too, but resettheman.com. And at the moment, I'm doing one-on-one coaching, and I'm developing an email-based course for this as well, but that's not ready yet. So there's a waiting list for that. But uh, at the moment it's one-on-one coaching. And so back to the method. So once I create this new me, then we have to, because the old you is going to still try to pop up. So we have to try to reinforce this. And so what I tell people to do, and these can be altered, but there's the default is then you're going to take a dancing class, a cooking class, and a language class. And
okay.
what that does is you're it puts you out into a new situation. These people don't know the old you. You're introducing yourself as the new you to these people. So it's reinforcing this new version of yourself, and it forces you to actually, even if you're shy, socially awkward, or introverted, it forces you to actually interact with people, because the dance class, it's very intimate. You can't just go and stand on the side. They will say, no, come in here. Here's your partner. And so you're actually touching someone, you're dancing and learning these dances. And then the cooking class, you are learning a new food and either doing it well or horribly with another person, and you're building this connection. You're introducing yourself as this new version. And whatever interests you have, you're letting them know. And they might not be into that, but they might know something. They might say, oh, like I like kayaking. So I might mention kayaking, and they might not be into it, but they say, my brother likes kayaking. Let me introduce you to him.
Mhm.
And so you'll learn through these. It forces you to interact with people as your new self. And then like the last one, the language class, you're butchering a language, you're horribly learning some language with other people, and then but it brings you closer together and builds these bonds. So now this new you is presented to the world. And so that's helping reinforce that. And then also I gave a TEDx speech about the power of uniforms. What I'd like to do is pick some kind of item. So it could be and it doesn't have to be like a full uniform. It can be like a necklace, for example.
Mhm.
And that's your uniform. So my best friend is a police officer, and when he puts on his uniform, whether he feels like it or not, he is a police officer, and he has to conduct himself that way because he has the uniform. And so with it could be a ring, a bracelet, a necklace, a hat, so I have this necklace, and when I put on the necklace, I can touch it, and it's a reminder I have my uniform on as this new version of me.
Okay.
And so whether I like it or not, or whether I feel like it, this is it. I have the uniform, so that also helps to reinforce that. And then we get into changing the environment, curing the environment, or curating the environment around you to help reinforce that, to choose like this, what you're going to do for this next phase of your life, to find that purpose, or really have your purpose revealed to you, because you're going to be more in alignment. And it's all about getting in alignment with yourself. And another exercise is, when people are achieving all the time, a lot of times you sacrifice things along the way. And
Mhm.
so you might have had some kind of hobby or something that you really liked, but then you didn't have time for it anymore. And it might not be relevant now, but you should always remember and check back on it just in case. So I used to write poetry when I was really young. And then once I started working, I stopped. And I don't know if that's because I was too busy or I was too cool, but I said, let me start doing that again just to see if there's something there. And I wanted to be a chef when I was 10 years old. I said, I'm going to be a chef one day. And then I never became a chef, but I still love cooking. But I forgot because I got too busy to do cooking. But now I say, let me try that out. Let me try this recipe. Let me see if that's still there. And it is. And so a lot of times people can bring some of these in that audit, also bring some of these the old things that you forgot about back in to this new you. And I'll pause here so you
Yeah,
can
it's a great.
address this.
So for me, it's so when I'm doing a new identity, for me the easiest way is not bracelet, but usually a watch.
Yes.
So if I want to go in a role of, for example, you mentioned TEDx talks. If I have different speeches, I always take the watch that gets me in this vibe.
Yes, yes,
And I used to have a lot of cars, and I would pick the car for the occasion.
yes,
So I would take either a limo or not a limo, it's a sedan in the US, or I would
yes,
take a sports car for the occasion. So it's and it gets me in the mood, the person I want to project when I comes somewhere. So I really like that. I
yes,
also like the bucket list. So you said you were writing a poems that you were
yes.
wanting to be a chef. I went a little bit further. I wanted to be a carpenter, and I just bought a carpentry shop. And
Oh, wow.
now I'm doing that as a hobby. Almost every day for about an hour, I go to a carpentry shop, and it's just I call that an inner child work. That
Yes,
things that
yes.
I used to do. Um, so I really like how you do it, and I will include links to how people can get in touch with you. And what I would like to do before we finish, what is the number one advice? What is the first step we should do? What is the most important thing that will bring or that will trigger the changes that all the changes that we have to make during our midlife, let's call it, transition.
I would say the most important thing would be that audit, because you need to know where you're at. You need to know, because if you're trying to figure things out without knowing your baseline, then it's hard to do, if not impossible. So the most important thing is just do a self audit and figure out where what your assets and liabilities, not just financial, but the actual like
Mhm.
inner work assets and liabilities, what you're looking at, what you're working with. And I have some audit things as well on my, if they're not on my site right now, they'll be on my website that help with that self audit. But to be able to make the adjustments and move forward and to do these passion projects, to get the carpentry shop, things like that, you need to know, you know, what you're working with. So the audit, I would say, to have that realization, to open your eyes to where you're at, that's the most important part, and then you can adjust from there and build from there.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you for sharing with us your amazing story and all the insights.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.